Hey everybody, so I'm here in the sunny Northern California weather. It's a little bit hotter here where my in-laws are, but today I wanted to record a little bit more about red phase, which is the phase right after reception. So without any further ado, let's get going. Okay, so you leave reception and you go on to red phase. And you got your backpack on with all your personal stuff, and you got your two like freaking heavy bags full of your army stuff, right? It's got like 120 pounds of stuff. You're just like walking along. There in the distance you see your new drill sergeants, right? And they're just like, run, 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 run. So you're running with these bags and you fall over and then you have to hurry and get back up and keep running and you're running. You really don't want to fall over though, because then they all jump around you and like circle around you and do a shark attack and they're all like, get up, get up. It's terrible. Then you get to the truck, right, and you have to like throw your one bag in there, you gotta throw your other bag in there, throw your backpack in there, and then you gotta run back to the new barracks. And you get there and you're almost like, drill sergeants are walking around just like, Jones, huh? Okay, okay. Alright, too easy. And then you gotta run up to your new barracks and you gotta stand there and they give you these jerseys. It's crazy, it's just chaotic as can be. And this part is what we call the first 72 hours. And it sucks. So that first 72 hours really doesn't even count as red phase. It's just called the first 72 hours. And you get these jerseys. I was red 48. Because A, they haven't learned their names yet, and B, the whole point of red phase is to try to squash out the individual in you and make you a team player. So they're trying to make you feel like, you know, you're no longer Jones, you're part of the red team, you know, if that makes sense. So in a certain sense they are trying to make you feel like you're no longer an individual. And actually they tell you this periodically. They say, oh, we have an individual over here, huh? Too easy. So that sucks. But they also don't give you a lot of sleep. You know, they tend to wake you up in the middle of the night to do random drills, like make you run downstairs and get in formation, or they make you bring random outfits down. They say, okay, put on your OCP top, put on your PT bottoms, put on one green sock, one black sock, put on one shower shoe and your left boot, and then wear your PT cap. And they make you go downstairs like that, you know. And then they make you go back up and change. Like, they do all sorts of things to make you not sleep. It's pretty stressful, this particular phase of boot camp. But don't worry, because it's just the first 72 hours. It really doesn't stay this crappy very long. Another thing they do that they don't really do in reception, starting red phase, they do corrective training. And you might notice smoking or a shark attack, but they tend to try to correct any little deficit they see in you as a soldier. I mean, that's their job, that makes sense, right? You're trying to correct any errors you find, but I hated corrective training because you get corrected not just for your own mistakes, but you get corrected for anyone else's mistakes. Again, a lot of that is because they're trying to squash the individual and make a team. So you're only as strong as your teammates, right? You can't just do it by yourself. And that's true in the Army as well. You really can't win a war by yourself. You have to rely on your teammates. So it makes sense. But be prepared to get penalized for when one of your battle buddies does something stupid. For instance, in the chow hall, if someone drops a fork, yeah, he'll get attacked. He'll get a big shark attack around him saying,
I apologize for the fork. The fork does not forgive you. Go to your table.
But then later, everyone has to do push-ups because he dropped his fork, you know? And while that sucks, at least you get strong, right? And that's probably the biggest, maybe the only positive takeaway from this phase is that you get really strong and you build teamwork, you know? Like you suffer together, you become better teammates, you know? You become stronger and closer together. But after that, you're good because red phase is officially started, so you get to not wear the jerseys everywhere you go. I think that might depend on your boot camp, so don't quote me on that one. But, you know, after the first 72 hours is over, it does get a little bit easier. I mean, you're still doing corrective training. It's not like that is over, but, you know, it's not just because they feel like it. So, you know, that's better, right? But one thing that starts during this phase that a lot of soldiers tend to hate are the classes. And I don't mind the classes personally. Granted, I did go to college though, so I was like, oh, it's just college again. But a lot of soldiers really have a problem with this because you have to sit there and just listen to people talk to you. And it is hard to be in class because you're tired. You became a soldier to skip school in a lot of cases, so you're like, why am I in school? And a lot of times it's stuff you might already know, so it's just like, okay, whatever, you know. And you're also really nervous because your drill sergeants are the teachers, right? So you can't ask stupid questions. So I get why it's hard, but honestly, it's not that bad. I actually quite preferred sitting down for a change than running around doing push-ups all the time. So for me, the classes weren't that bad, and they were subjects that were somewhat useful. You know, like we had a class on everything from how to shave your face to, you know, how to perform CPR. We had a finance class. We had land navigation. You know, all things that you need in the Army. So the Army does teach you everything you need to know to be a good soldier. They're not going to require you to do something you haven't been taught. So that's what I like about the Army. At least one thing I like about the Army. Like, they don't just leave you high and dry and say, do this thing until after they've taught you. So be prepared to sit in classes for a long time and don't fall asleep. You really don't want to fall asleep, because then not only do you get corrective training, but afterwards,
1st Platoon, you owe me one.
and nothing like a good old sweatshop just before you go to bed, right? Good way to go to sleep. All sweaty and tired. So don't fall asleep. The next thing that starts in this phase is exercise. Because in reception, you can do exercise. It's not like you can't, but no one makes you. I think the entire week I was in reception, I did 140 push-ups that were required, and you easily do that every day in red phase. So that starts, not just from corrective training, but you also start PT, I guess PRT, physical readiness training. You also take a PT test, so you know you're actually required to exercise now. And that's good, because you have to pass a PT test to graduate. So as much as corrective training is terrible in that it sucks, it's really good for you because it's not like everything they make you do makes you stronger. They're actually really good about not making you do random things just to cause pain. Everything they make you do has a purpose. It makes you stronger. And so if you do everything they tell you to do, you will pass the PT test and you'll become a good soldier. So that's a positive to me about red phase. Even though it sucked, I have arms now, you know, like I have a chest now. Like everything they made me do made me stronger, you know, not just mentally, but also physically. And they do make you stronger mentally. All the things you go through, you know, not just in red phase, but the whole boot camp is to make you stronger in all aspects, you know, even spiritually. If so inclined, you know, everything they do is just to make you stronger. So as much as all the exercise sucks, especially for someone who was out of shape as me, I was, it is good for you. So take it with a grain of salt and look at it positively. Okay, so there are a few other things you're gonna do while you're in red phase besides work out and go to class. There are a few other activities, like there's a giant tower you have to jump off, well, rappel off, not just jump off. You rappel off a tower. At Fort Sill it was called Treadwell Tower. It was like 40 feet tall. You also had a ropes course we did. We did an obstacle course, which we actually had timed, and the fastest platoon got a ribbon. And then you also do it was called a team building course, but it was like you had missions. So there's one where you had to build a bridge out of planks. There was one where you had a bunch of ropes and like poles, and you couldn't touch the ground. You had to get everyone across. You know, like your Boy Scout team building exercises. And those were fun. I thought it was a good way to, you know, bring the group together. So those are all things you only do in red phase, though. You never go back and do more obstacle course stuff. So enjoy that while you're there, because that was actually really fun, and we never did it again. So, you know, it's not all bad in red phase. There are some good things. So that's my experience with red phase. You know, yours might be different. I went to Fort Sill, and it's gonna change at some point anyway. You know, the Army's always changing. But let me know if you have any more questions, or if you've already been, let me know what your experience was, you know, in the comments below. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and please subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my day now, if you don't mind. So until next video,